Hello everyone! Today we will be discussing a very interesting question. From time to time I receive emails mostly from young men, those who are between 20 and 30 years of age, asking me if it is possible to marry a virgin girl. Pretty cool question, huh? And I would say a very tough one. These men usually write that they would do absolutely everything if they could just marry a young, beautiful Ukrainian girl who is still a virgin. In this video, I want to discuss pros and cons of relationships with a virgin girl, and I will share my ideas where it is possible to meet one. After a few days of brainstorming, I came up with some ideas. And if you have any ideas that I will not cover in this video, please share them in comments. And please share in comments what do you think about relationships and marriage with a girl who had never any experience with any man. But before we move on, please check if you are subscribed to my channel and please like my video if you found this information useful. Let's start with discussion of pros and cons of having a relationship with a virgin girl. And what would you expect to be dating one? Well, you should be dating one right before you get married, even though it is very difficult, but let's suppose you found the virgin girl. I personally would divide virgins into two categories. First category, which are up to 20 years old, and second category, which are 20-21 years old and older. If a girl is still young, let's say from 18 to 20 years old, and is still a virgin, maybe she didn't have a chance to meet that Mr. Perfect, and maybe she is just looking to find that real love. In such case, if you are not a virgin, of course, it would take you several months to seduce her. And are you ready for that? Are you ready to wait so long? For maybe several months, maybe half a year or even longer? Please let me know in comments. In second category, I would put those virgins that are 21 years old and up. And why such girl may be a virgin in that age? And there may be a lot of reasons for that. Either she is too shy, or she has a low self-esteem, or maybe she is waiting for that real love, for that, let's say, prince on black BMW 7 Series. Prince who has a villa on a seaside, maybe a private jet, and that black Amex card. In such case, you may forget about sleeping with her until you get married. How do you think? What are chances of such girl marrying a man whom she just met on the street, in a cafe or in a restaurant, or maybe even on a dating site? Just imagine if nobody over these years have persuaded her to sleep with him, what will be your chances? Probability of 1%. Or even less. It would take maybe half a year or even longer until you light up that fire of love in her. Also, most probably such girl will be pretty shy, modest, reluctant, introverted. In other words, different from other women. Psychologically, the longer a woman chooses a man, the more difficult it will be for her in the future to put up with his even insignificant minuses. She will be looking for that Mr. Perfect, and you must be prepared to be very, very patient. Are you ready to be called Mr. Tolerance or Mr. Patience? The only thing that can save you pretty quickly in this case is if she falls in love with you. But since it is not guaranteed, you may be just wasting your time and money. But most importantly, you will be wasting your time, which is the most valuable asset that you have in your life. But even if a virgin girl agrees you to be her pioneer, the so-called Mr. Magellan, very unlikely the process will be satisfactory for you during the first month. And remember, you would have to marry such girl. And if her, let's say, temperament does not match with yours, you don't want to get divorced after a month, 2 months, 3 months, or even half a year, right? Because you would invest quite a lot in such relationships, correct? But of course, there are many pluses in such relationships. If you know that you will match for sure, and you're willing to wait for a couple of months or even a year, trying and doing your best so that virgin girls falls in love with you, well, you will be a really lucky guy. It may really be that perfect relationships, because first of all, she will not be able to compare you with anyone else, and since she presented to you her virginity, well, that would mean a lot to her. And of course that would mean that you are really worth something for her, and not something that you are worth a lot. But what are chances of such perfect match? Please let me know in comments. Now let's think where such virgin girls can be found. I have done some brainstorming for a couple of days and I came up with several ideas. First is maybe in some faraway villages in family with strict parents. We have an anecdote about this, but I will tell you that anecdote at the end of this video. So, if girl was brought up in a family somewhere far away from civilization, it may happen that she will still be a virgin in her 20 or maybe 21, 22 or maybe even 23 years old, while she lives with her parents. And if her parents were very strict, then chances are very high that she would still be a virgin. Second place, of course, is in churches, especially those girls that attend the service in church every day or maybe every weekend. But the more often you see a girl in a church, the more likely she would be a virgin. Third, you may attend some pilgrimages, especially those which are organized by churches, and very likely that you will find virgin girls there, that you will meet virgin girl on such pilgrimages. Especially if pilgrimage is for a couple of days, for a week, then you would stay maybe in a hotel, and maybe during lunchtime you will have more time to communicate with such girl. So that may be an idea if you would have, like, let's say, enough nerves and enough desire to attend pilgrimage for, let's say, a week. I cannot imagine me going on a pilgrimage for a week, for example. But if your desire to find such girl is pretty high, well, then this may be an idea. Next, maybe you would want to attend some theological courses or seminars. Most probably in such places you would also meet a virgin girl. And attending a seminar that lasts for maybe 2 or 3 hours is much easier than attending a pilgrimage for a couple of days or even for a week. Next, I don't know how it is done in Europe or United States, but in Ukraine and in former USSR countries, we have the so-called крестный ход. In English, it is called procession. That's when a lot of people gather and walk after a group of priests who are carrying a cross and praying. A pretty sad sight, but I am sure you will find many virgins in that crowd. And last idea that I came up with, if you are attending, let's say, a church or a synagogue, you may go to talk to a priest or a rabbi. They will surely suggest you something useful, and maybe they would introduce you to some virgin girl. Who knows? I think they would know for sure which girl is virgin and which is not a virgin. Maybe you can come up with more ideas where you can meet a virgin girl. Please let me know in comments. I have brainstormed this question for a few days, and that's the only places I could come up with. I must admit that such desire of finding and marrying only a virgin girl has some psychological issues. And in most cases, I would say such psychological issues can be corrected. Those of you who have such desire and want to discuss it personally, please drop me an email and I will be glad to talk to you about it and help you. Working for 5 months in a refugee psychological center makes me want to help everyone. Interestingly enough, I liked helping people so much, maybe I will open another psychological channel. Please let me know in comments, by the way, if you think such channel would be successful. And I promise to tell you an anecdote. But before, please let me know, what do you think of dating or marrying a virgin girl? What do you think about virgins in general? Since Odessa is considered the world's capital of humor, we joke quite a lot here in Odessa. And when I came up with these ideas, the first, as you can remember, is finding a girl somewhere in a faraway village in a family with strict parents, remember? Before I tell you an anecdote, I have to tell you about some terminology. The word hymen has 2 long words, and we have many ways how to say it in slang. So, one of such meanings is кольцо. which means ring. In this anecdote, a very rich man who tried everything, who experienced everything, decided that he would marry only a virgin girl. So that man decided to go to that faraway village, the most faraway village, let's say, that he could find. And how would he check if the girl is still a virgin? And friends tell him, well, you can explain the situation. They would see that you're a pretty rich man, and just put finger, and once you reach кольцо, remember кольцо is hymen, she would scream, and you would know that she is a virgin. He went to a very far away village. He went there by land cruiser, and he could not even pass to that village by his land cruiser, so he had to walk there. And he paid some money to some people in that village for that information, and they said, yes, there is a girl who is a daughter of butcher and woman who was milking cows on the farm all her life, and that family is pretty strict, and that girl is 100% a virgin. So he came to meet her, he liked her very much, and when her father and her mother went outside, he said that he has to perform a check. He puts his finger, and in a couple of seconds, girl says, so, is it already a ring? No, it is already a watch. For those of you who may not understand and write me comments for explanation, so he said, is it a ring? No, it is a watch. I hope you understood the anecdote. Pretty funny, I suppose, right? Those of you who need my personal assistance, help or advice, please email me at my email address, and I am always glad to help those people who really need help. In the meantime, I wish you all good luck, success, joy, happiness, and of course, stay healthy and wealthy.